What's up YouTube? Brian here, back again with another rod review, and today we're going to look deep at this bad boy, the Daiwa Tatula 7-foot medium heavy Tatula Elite rod. This is the Takahiro designed rod. They call it the Shaky Head rod, but we're going to go deep on this in a few minutes. First off, I just want to say you should be following me on my Instagram at Punch Fishing. If you're not, that's where I post a lot of my on the water content. That's where I'm out fishing and talk about techniques and kind of do my actual while I'm out on the water content. So please give me a follow there. Also, please check the links in the description for anything I talk about in my videos. I usually have a working active Omnia code that's in all of most of my descriptions. You just kind of gotta update the year and the month sometimes, but you know that should give you a nice little discount on pretty much most things that I talk about in my videos. So shout out to Omnia for all the support they've been giving me over the years as an affiliate, and that is exactly where I picked up this rod and this reel. I got these both from Omnia when they first came out. Now, going back, I am a fan of the Daiwa Tatula Elite rods. I haven't had them in my arsenal for long periods of time, but I have had quite a few. I had the 7'3" Brent Ayler AGS in the old version. And I also had the Cody Meyer 7'1" drop shot rod. I think it's a 7'1", but anyway, I had the Cody Meyer drop shot rod. I had the Brent Ayler AGS version. Both of those great rods, no complaints. Really like those rods. I just ended up getting rid of them to try other stuff because I'm kind of a gear nerd. I'm always swapping things out. Anyway, when Daiwa announced that they were rebooting and updating the Tatula Elite line this year, I was excited to see what new rods and actions they were going to come out with. And at the Northwest Sports Show, which is like this Minnesota big fishing show that we do every fall, I'm sorry, every winter, spring-ish, they had all of these rods on the rack at the Daiwa booth. And I went through every single rod in all of the new Daiwa Tatula Elite series, just checking them all out and going, are any of these rods like jump out at me as something, oh, I want to buy it and try it? This one did. This is the 7-foot medium heavy. We're going to talk about that in a second. Takahiro rod. Now, Takahiro is a finesse guy. He wanted to make a rod that was just kind of an all-around, do-everything finesse rod, but he made it a little more powerful than what most people would consider like a all-around rod. So he went from a medium to a medium heavy. However, I will say that I would classify this as more like a medium heavy. It's not a straight medium heavy, just first off. I've had medium heavy spinning rods over the years. Like if you get a Fenwick or like a, just some other brand in a medium heavy, they're usually kind of broomsticky. This particular medium heavy has a medium tip. So the tip on this thing is medium all day, every day. So this first part of the blank is very medium. But then you get into this part of the rod and that's where the medium heavy comes in. So basically from like here down that's kind of broomsticky, but the tip, not broomsticky. So it's a really cool mix. Now, I've been using this rod literally all year. We are into the end of July, so I've had months and months on this rod, and I've taken it out quite a bit. I've used it in some tournaments. I've used it fun fishing. I've given it to people so they could use it. Like I took some people out on Minnetonka, and this is one of the rods I gave someone to try out and play with it because it's really just a good user-friendly, kind of does everything rod. I'm going to talk about the techniques that I really like on this thing, but first, so let's talk about the weight because that's something that's important. This thing is 3.8 ounces without a reel on it. So the rod itself is 3.8 ounces. That is light for a $180 rod for sure with this much power. So this is a thick rod. It's got a lot of power in the middle. And even though it's got a lot of power, it's still well under 4 ounces. So 3.8 ounces is a great weight on this thing. For reference, the 852S NRX is 3.4 ounces. And that rod is $600+ dollars. So $600 plus NRX, which is like the great Shaky Head rod in the NRX line. You can get this Shaky Head rod for $180, and it's only a fraction heavier than an NRX. And the balance on this thing is really great. So I have a Tatula MQ. We're going to talk about this reel too, but I got the Daiwa Tatula MQ. So this is a new version of the Tatula. I had to go Tatula on Tatula, right? But balance-wise with these two. With these two together, really great. So right above the grip, that's kind of where you want it, right in that grip portion. If I had a 3000, it would probably bounce even better, but I wanted to do the 2500 just to try it, and it was the reel that was available when they first came out. So anyway, and the MQ reels are a little heavier, by the way. This thing is a 6.9 ounce reel with line. So when you put this MQ reel on this thing, you're getting to be right about that 10-ounce package for the whole thing with line. So to me, a lightweight rod combo is basically around 10 ounces or sub 10 ounces. So this thing is right at about 10 with the reel, with line, and the rod. So that's great. So all that for, you know, $200, like not a super expensive combo, but also not cheap. So I know cheap and expensive is relative to everybody, right? So couple things. Number one, guides. This thing has Fuji Alkalite guides, which is great. That's the good $200 to $300 rod should all have these Fuji Alkanite guides. Really great, really durable, light, nothing wrong with them. The thing they changed, and it's really subtle from the old versions to this version, is they made the blank a little darker gray, so it's a little more of a dark gunmetal gray. That's about the only big change. The grips all seem the exact same. The hook keepers down here, I'm pretty sure that's where it was on the old ones. So really, if you have an old one and a new one, you're only going to really be able to tell with the slightly darker rod overall. So you know, one shade darker, whatever. It does have the EVA foam grips. I will say, if you're a cleanliness nerd, everything's got to be clean. These grips are not going to stay clean. I use these for a couple months and they're already showing a lot of dirt. Even after just the first couple sessions, like sweaty hands, touching fish, food, whatever, you're getting this light EVA, this light gray EVA is going to show dirt. So you're going to have to clean these things once in a while, or just let them get dirty. So I guess that's one thing I would put in the downside column on this, is that super bright, nice looking gray EVA foam will start looking kind of dingy in a very, very short amount of time. So, but that being said, let's talk about the techniques. This rod is labeled as a Shaky Head rod, so guess what? I'm a Shaky Head nerd, and I've been out fishing Shaky Heads on this thing. And let me tell you, it's perfect. It's a great Shaky Head rod, especially in grass. When I'm fishing a Shaky Head, I'm usually targeting thick cover, docks, specifically offshore grass. I actually have a video. We're going to jump over to a video real quick of me catching a largemouth in some grass with this rod. So let's take a look at that. Set the hook. And I'll try and get a pause on this thing when I can show the rod bend, the deflection. Wasn't a huge fish, but it wasn't a dink. So right here, you can see where that medium heavy part of the rod really takes over, but you get that really medium tip. I mean, this fish isn't giant, but it is pulling a little bit of grass. I'm using 10-pound braid. I'm using 10-pound Daiwa J-Braid Grand to an 8-pound Invisix fluorocarbon leader with a owner Shaky Head with a Zoom finesse worm. And yeah, it was it bends pretty good. You get a lot of control in the fish, especially in the grass. You have that power that if you got a big fish in the grass, you're going to get them out with this thing. This rod is up to the task. It's got enough power. All the fish that All right. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's labeled a Shaky Head rod. If you're a deep grass Shaky Head fisherman, or even shallow, whatever, you're going to like this thing. You're going to be able to crack the hook on this sucker with this thing and really get a decent sized fish out of the grass, which is what you want in a Shaky Head rod. That's why you want a more stiff, kind of more powerful rod for Shaky Heads, in my personal opinion. Other people might disagree, whatever. I will say, because of the softer tip, you can make pretty good casts with this thing. You know, you're not going to bomb baits out, but it's got a soft enough tip to really get a good whip and get those baits out, you know, pretty far. Other things that this rod can do. You can absolutely throw paddle tail swim baits on this thing, especially heavier ones. So if you're using like a 1/4 ounce, a 1/4 ounce, maybe even 3/8, but like a 1/4 in that range, this is going to be a really great paddle tail rod for throwing for like smallmouth, even walleye fishing. This thing is a great wacky Senko rod. Obviously, it's got that soft tip, got lots of power. If you need to skip Senkos under docks or just fish just a wacky worm all over the place, and you really want to crack a hook set and fish wacky Senkos or wacky stickworms, great wacky worm bait. Wacky worm rod. I also like this thing for, you could throw some top waters on this thing if you want. Like if you're not, if you want to give someone some popper or some kind of topwater bait and they're not good with bait casters, this could absolutely throw a topwater treble hook bait and be perfectly fine. Finesse jigs, this thing's going to be fine. You could even throw some tubes on this thing. You could crack tubes because it's got a lot of that extra power. Maybe even a lighter dark sleeper jig, something like that would be fine too. But anyway, basically any presentations where you need a little extra power, you could definitely throw that on this. Also, spinnerbaits, like if you have a kid or someone who's throwing like 3/8 ounce spinnerbaits and they are not good with a bait caster, this could absolutely throw a spinnerbait. Jerkbait, this thing's going to be fine at too as well. Maybe even a bigger jerkbait this thing could throw in the wind. Like if you want to rip like a slightly deeper diving or a slightly bigger jerkbait, this thing could 100% handle it. Just a really great all-around rod. If you kayak guys are looking for just a really good does everything spinning rod and you don't want to spend a ton of money, for 180 bucks or 190 bucks, this thing does all sorts of stuff. You could absolutely throw a Ned rig on this thing. Like I said, shaky heads are its jam, wacky worms are its jam. Yeah, really, it's just a good all-around finesse rod. Sensitivity-wise, not the greatest. I will say, feeling fish in the grass, it was more like I was feeling a tug or a pull on the thing versus a tick-tick bite like with something, say, an NRX. So I will say the sensitivity seems to be on point for that 150-ish range price point. But the sensitivity is not going to blow you out of the water. But great balance, great weight. Looks cool. I like the dark metal gray. I think aesthetically this rod looks badass. It looks cool. So winner in the looks department, has the proper guides for this price point. If you like EVA, it's got the EVA. You don't really have a choice on the spinning rods. I know they have cork versions of the Daiwa Tatula Elite casting rods, but they did not make cork versions of the spinning rods. The grip is super comfortable. It's that typical Daiwa / Fuji grip where you can absolutely go high on the grip, get your whole hand up above the stem of your spinning reel and wrap it and get full contact with that grip. You don't even have to touch the blank. So if you're a full gripper, this is a great, I usually go pinky and split grip. Super comfortable with that too. So if you're a choker upper on a spinning rod, which most people are, this type of grip is perfect. No complaints on the grip. You do get a 5-year warranty with this, which is actually pretty awesome. So you get a pretty good warranty, 5 years. A lot of pros on this thing. I would say cons are just the dirty grip, and it's not the most sensitive rod in the world. But for those price point, that's kind of what you're expecting. The Daiwa Tatula MQ that I've been running on this thing, it's okay. I have no problem with it, except for some reason, and I'm gonna go on a little side rant, is my MQ spinning reels are developing knocks. And I have 3 different reels that are doing this from Daiwa. I have a Kage that is knocking. I have a ballistic MQ that is knocking, and this thing started knocking. And when I say knocking, what I mean, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna take this off the rod real quick. It's gonna be really hard to explain in a video and on audio, unless you're like feeling it. But there's 100% play developing in the handle. Here, let me hear. Wait, now I'm holding the bail so it's not spinning, and I'm not touching the knob. You hear that? That is loose. Like there's noticeable visual play in the handle on this thing. It wiggles and it makes a knocking sound. It didn't do that when I first got this reel. When it broke in is when that knock started developing. Same thing with the ballistic. The ballistic is a little less dramatic than that one, but it does do it. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but you can feel it in the body. So when I'm wiggling the handle, I can actually feel the knock happening in the body. It makes a vibration noise. I don't know what's going on. Daiwa, why are the monococks knocking? I'm gonna start calling them mono knocks. My Kage, these 2 are both doing it. I don't have a ton of these, but if I bought 4 MQ reels and 3 of them are knocking, there's something going on there. My Surte and my Exist are monocoque bodies, no knocks. These things, knocking. Don't like it. My Vanfords and my Stratics don't knock, and I've beat the crap out of them. I've used them a lot. The tolerances are tight. No knocking, no wiggling, no weird stuff going on with my Shimano stuff. Weird stuff happening with these. And it's kind of a bummer because I got really excited using it. And you notice it when you're reeling fast. So when you're reeling really fast on these things, that's when the knock is like knock, 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 knock. Because you're not reeling it. You're not reeling straight. You're kind of reeling on an axis when you're holding a rod, right? And when you're reeling on the axis, that's when that knock is like. So yeah, kind of annoying. And the knock is not from the knobs. The knobs are actually shimmed correctly on these new versions. You don't have to like change these, but the knock is in the handle. You can feel it, and it wiggles. I don't know, man. Kind of bummed out by that. Because of that reason, I can't really give giant recommendations on these MQ reels. If you have MQ reels and you are not getting the knocks, leave a comment down in the description. This is just my personal experience. I actually would love to hear from people who have used these. If theirs are totally solid and firm and don't make any noise, do you guys have ones that knock? Anyways, whatever. Long story short, pretty good rod. Very happy with it. I'm going to keep it in the arsenal. It's a great rod for just all around you kayak people, or you bank people, or people who just can't buy and afford a whole bunch of different combos. That is definitely a rod that can just do a bunch of stuff. It looks cool, and it does not break the bank. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe, and definitely follow me on Instagram. And also check out my comments for YouTube. For Omnia codes and links, and who knows, maybe the code might get you a nice discount on some of this Daiwa stuff. I guess you'll just have to try it and find out. So until next time, this is Brian. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.